Breaking news. Trump has been indicted again. This time around, he's being indicted on something that happened 4 years ago. But before we get started with this demonstration, let me read my copyright disclaimer. Excuse me, y'all. Copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. What that means is that everything that you hear in this demonstration is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Everything that you hear in this demonstration is all allegedly. It's only my opinion and the opinion of others. Salute positive vibes. I see you positive vibes. Salute to everybody that's catching this on the replay. Salute to everybody that's watching from the clouds. Salute to all of my moderators. Salute to all my new subscribers. Salute to you, him, and her. Salute to the whole Rock Squad. Yes, you heard it, and you heard it clear. Donald Trump has been indicted once again. He's been indicted for allegedly trying to overturn the presidential elections in 2020. Salute, Marie. Salute, Marie. Now, what do that mean? Salute, Miss G. Yes, Miss G. They then went on and they indicted him for trying to overturn the election in 2020. What does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean that he will be barred from running? Who knows? Who knows? We're going to be definitely chopping it up. We're going to be going to some legal experts. We're going to let the legal experts weigh in on this. We need to find out, is this going to jeopardize this year's election? Let's look at this. Let's look at this. Donald Trump has been convicted already of 34 felonies. So he got 34 felony charges that he's been convicted of. Now they indicting him on trying to overturn the 2020 election. What are y'all thoughts? What are y'all thoughts? Before I go to the legal experts, what are y'all thoughts? Here's my thing, okay? Should he be allowed to run for office with these felonies? Now, when I had felonies and I was going for jobs and I was filling out job applications, I was being turned down. They was turning me down. Then they had the thing where if it's 10 years ago, then they will hire you. Then it was 7. Then it was 5. Salute, Empress. Salute, Lori B. I see you, Lori B. Salute. So is it fair? Now, many of y'all know that I have said that I was going to vote for Trump. But you all know I do give the good, the bad, and the ugly. So is it fair? I'm with you all. It's not fair. Why do Trump get an exception? If the rest of the United States citizens, if the rest of Americans can't vote with felonies, can't get a job, because at the end of the day, the president of the United States of America, it's a job. So why do he get an opportunity to be hired for a job with 34 felonies? Not one felony, 34 felonies. What will this do now with the up and coming presidential election? And this is why I was saying I'm waiting for this presidential election. The way that things are going right now, Trump is going to have his work cut out for him at this presidential election. I mean, right now, he already has too many things going against him. With Kamala, she got a few things going against her. But the things that Kamala have going against her is nothing. I mean, nothing compared to what Trump has going against him. Lloyd B says, right, it's not fair. Positive Vibe says white privilege, fame, and money got him out of a lot of stuff. And I gotta agree. Marie says, Shank, they should have removed him, being that his case is ongoing. I mean, as much as I was advocating for him, ain't too much I could advocate for right now. You know, he went from the first thing that they came to him was when he was in office, the taxes. Remember? His taxes that he was supposed to show. To this day, he never showed the taxes. To this day. How did he get out of that? Then it was talk of them impeaching him. So he had a lot of stuff. He had things hanging over his head while he was still in office. Then when he get out of office, it was like things still was following him. The Capitol building riot. Remember that? What is going to happen to Donald Trump? Is Donald Trump going to be victorious in all of this? Drop a 1 if you feel as though Donald Trump is still going to win this election. Drop a 1 if you think that Donald Trump, regardless of all that he's going through, the assassination attempt, drop a 1 if you think he's going to win this presidential election. Drop a 2 if you think he's not. Salute Aunt Esther. Aunt Esther dropped the 1. Aunt Esther. So far we have 1. Willie Jones. Salute Willie. Will and Aunt Esther both feel like, regardless of everything that's been going on, Trump is still going to win the election. Salute Seth. Seth dropped the 2. Seth says, I admire him and I think this. Like I said, this indictment, Marie dropped the 2. He's been indicted. And we're going to go over, the indictment process and what comes out of it. Matter of fact, let's go to the legal experts. Let's jump to the legal experts, y'all. And then I'll come back.
To reflect the Supreme Court ruling. I want to go ahead and read a little bit of the notice today that was just filed in court. Today, a federal grand jury in the District of Columbia returned a superseding indictment charging the defendant, Donald Trump, with the same criminal offenses that were charged in the original indictment. The superseding indictment, which was presented to a new grand jury that had not previously heard evidence in the case, reflects the government's efforts to respect and implement the Supreme Court's holdings. Remember, the Supreme Court issue from over the summer, a 6-3 decision that former presidents are immune from prosecution for acts that they took, official acts while in office. This notice goes on to say the government does not oppose waiver of the defendants appearing for arraignment, and also says that the government will confer with the defense and make a joint proposal regarding pre-trial litigation. So remember, this case, after it was in the Supreme Court, was sent to the Court of Appeals. That 3-judge panel then sent the matter back to the district court, that is Chutkin's court. Let's go ahead and get to Jessica Levinson, of course, a CBS News legal contributor and Loyola Law School professor. Jessica, does this come as a surprise, or was there some sort of deadline for both parties to confer to get this case to move forward?
This is not a surprise given the timeline that was laid out in Judge Chutkan's courtroom, and it's not a surprise that this was refiled. I think you and I had the opportunity to talk briefly after the Supreme Court decision came out in the Fisher case. Of course, that was a case dealing with somebody else involved in the events of January 6th. But the Supreme Court, as you mentioned, was analyzing one of the statutes that former President Trump is charged under in the DC election interference case. And the question for the Supreme Court was, does this obstruction statute, which was a post-Enron era statute, really prior to January 6th that applied to white collar crimes, could it apply to people involved in January 6th? And what the Supreme Court did very briefly is narrow the scope of that statute, but allow enough room for Jack Smith to do what he did today, which is to say, I understand the statute that I'm charging Trump under has now been narrowed in its scope, but I can still move forward because of the allegations against the former president.
So, Jessica, given that this grand jury was being conducted after the Supreme Court decision, are the charges different? Because I'm trying to look right now at the original indictment filed in August of 2023 against Donald Trump. I'm seeing 4 counts: conspiracy to defraud the U.S., conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. And now I'm looking at the new superseding indictment, and I am seeing what looks to be the same counts.
Yes, that is exactly what I saw as well, and that's what many people predicted, which is that all 4 are going through, meaning all 4 counts are continuing. And the thing that changed is for Jack Smith to go to a grand jury, understand the new legal framework, the new standard, and say, here's the evidence we have. Will you, grand jury, do you think we have enough to indict under the new legal framework? And so very briefly, what we're looking at is this obstruction statute that federal prosecutors have used for many, many people involved in January 6th. Some were tried, some pled guilty, and the question was very specific in terms of the statutory language of whether or not it required essentially evidence tampering, whether or not it required a document to be involved in the allegations of trying to obstruct an official proceeding. The Supreme Court said yes, and Jack Smith today is saying that's fine, and there was an official document here. Now, we haven't read through everything yet, but what I expect that we will see is that the official documents at issue are those alleged fake slates of electors. That, according to Jack Smith, will be enough to satisfy the statute.
So it's interesting. We got a note from our own Scott McFarland, who, of course, deeply steeped, as you are, Jessica, in all things January 6th. But he also notes the same 4 charges, no new co-defendants added. The new superseding indictment, 9 pages shorter, and eliminates any reference to co-conspirator 4, which pertains to the allegation of criminal attempts to misuse the Justice Department for sham election investigations, a reference to Jeffrey Clark, who I believe is also indicted or at least implicated in at least one other, as you just mentioned, fake elector scheme in Georgia.
Well, that's right. And let's remember that there were 2 big Supreme Court cases. We're focusing on one of them, but 2 big Supreme Court cases that have affected this case. And one dealt with immunity, and one dealt with this obstruction of official proceeding statute. And the obstruction of official proceeding statute is the one that we've been talking about today, the one that was narrowed in scope as a result of that Fisher decision. But I think what you see in Jack Smith's decision to pare down is him frankly reacting to both of those Supreme Court decisions.
Okay, Jessica, stand by. Let us know if anything else stands out to you. Let's go ahead and go to CBS News Justice Department reporter Rob Legary, who joins us now. Robert, what stands out to you about what you've read?
Yeah, so just reading through this, as Jessica rightly said, this is a pared down indictment. The first one was 45 pages. The superseding indictment is, 45, this is about 35 pages. And so this is 9 or 10 pages less than what we had last year at this time. And the prosecutors and the special counsel appear to be following the Supreme Court's roadmap here, and specific information that is now left out, particularly as Jessica mentioned, the alleged conduct that prosecutors said Trump worked to pressure the Justice Department and enlist Justice Department officials in his alleged scheme following the 2020 election. That's gone. There were 5 alleged unnamed, unindicted co-conspirators in that original document, in the original indictment, including who we here at CBS News identified as one of them being then acting Assistant Attorney General Jeff Clark. He is also gone from the indictment. That individual, I think it was unindicted co-conspirator number 4, is no longer in the indictment, and so this really shows us that the prosecutors went through the original indictment and kind of took out issues that they said that they viewed as part of the Supreme Court knocking it out. Now remember, the Supreme Court in their immunity decision said explicitly that any conduct that Trump is alleged to have undertaken tied to the Justice Department was out of bounds. He was immune from being prosecuted for that because that was an official act. It is the president's official act, the Supreme Court said, his official job to interact with members of the Justice Department, and prosecutors cannot break into that immunity. They can't really touch that. The Supreme Court explicitly said that and basically disqualified that conduct from the indictment. So here Jack Smith is saying, okay, we don't need that anymore. We have these other things. Notably, Mike Pence and the conduct that prosecutors said Mike Pence or Trump worked to enlist Mike Pence in these acts, that's still included here, and that was a close call that the Supreme Court said would be a tough one for the judge to kind of parse through. They said Trump is presumptively immune from going over this, presumptively immune from conduct tied to the vice president, but here it's still included. So this is going to be a tough question for Judge Chutkan to answer, and she's likely going to have hearings on it to figure out whether or not the conduct with Mike Pence is allowed to go forward.
Let's stop right there, y'all. Let's stop right there. Now I'm going to ask the Trump supporters, is this the type of person that you want running the country? How do y'all feel? Salute, Tina. Salute, Tina. I appreciate you for pulling up. Is this the kind of man that we want? Matter of fact, I'm asking everyone in general. I'm asking everyone in general. After hearing all of this, is this the type of man that we want running our country? And this is things that's definitely going to hurt him. Tina says, definitely a no for me, Shank. This is going to hurt him. There's a lot of things it's hurting him. So it's like Positive Vibe says no. It's like when it comes down to it, I gave y'all the good, the bad, and the ugly from both sides. I've gave y'all the good from Trump, the bad and the ugly. I gave y'all the good from Kamala, the bad and the ugly. Seth wants Trump to be the president. Now, when it all comes down to it, has Kamala been accused of any illegal activities, any criminal activities? Have Kamala been convicted of any felonies? Have Kamala been indicted? Does Kamala have a dark cloud hanging over her, such as Trump? There's a dark cloud hanging over Donald Trump's head. Now, one thing that most of us felt sorry for was the assassination attempt. It's going to be hard for me to argue. It's getting harder for me to argue in Trump's defense. Seth says, very true. On paper, she has no issues. Positive says, no, she hasn't. And that's what, salute Sagittarius, that's what, as American citizens, those are things that we have to look at. Like I said, some things, in my opinion, Trump is the better president, in my opinion. Some things, Kamala is the better president, in my opinion. I think it's balanced out. So now it comes down to the character. It comes down to the integrity. It's going to come down to that. Honcho, keep deleting my... I don't know why your messages keep getting deleted, Honcho. As long as you're not using profanity, you're good. Your messages shouldn't be getting deleted, long as you're not using profanity. Tina says, I have not heard anything too negative about Miss Harris this far. Nah. The only thing that I've heard is really two things that I've heard. I've heard that she sleeps her way to the top. And I also heard that she was a bad DA. Those are the only two things that I've heard negative about her. They say that she was the vice president, but she didn't do anything. She didn't do nothing to influence Biden. She didn't make a good vice president, but I mean, what exactly was we expecting her to do as the vice president? Sajid says, I have a soft spot for Trump, though. I'm with you. I'm with you. Now, Trump is in the same position that Biden was in. Y'all remember, I always felt like Trump made the better president than Biden. Now, Biden is no longer in the picture. So we got to take Biden off the table. And we have to look at who's on the table. Kamala is on the table. Now, let's go over some of the issues that we had with Biden. Honcho says, soft what? Did he let sleep in his Trump Tower hotel? Now, let's look at the things that we were shooting Biden down about. You know, we were saying he doesn't look incompetent. I think I pronounced that word right, but he doesn't look like he's able to last another 4 years, let alone the 4 years that he was in there. He doesn't, he's always dozing off. He misreads the teleprompt. So, and not only that, the economy wasn't doing so good. Gas prices was high. So there was a lot of issues when it came to Biden, whereas though majority of the folks, including myself, felt like he ain't going to make no better president than Trump. Now we have to look at Kamala. And just like we were able to point out issues with Biden, we got to point out issues with Trump. And here are some issues. And I have to be honest, there are major issues. Salute, Linda. Linda says Trump has loads of energy. He has a good, I believe that's intellectual. Seth says, I don't even like Trump for his character. It's his policies. And I technically have no thoughts with Kamala, except that she let all these illegals in and a couple other things. Let's build with Seth. Let's chop it up what Seth is saying. Seth ain't concerned about Trump's character. Seth is worrying about the policies. So give me a policy, give me one of Trump's policies that is a good policy. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. However, I was raised in a time, I was raised in an era where no matter what it was in life that you were, no matter what it is that you was doing in life, I was raised that your character says a lot about you. You can tell a lot about a person just by their character. So I feel you, Seth, and I'm with you on you're not worrying about his character, but for me, and especially taking on the highest seat, the highest job in the world is in Washington, D.C. Whoever sits in that seat in Washington, D.C. at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, they have the most power. That's the most powerful seat, the most powerful job to have. So, character. We have to look at character. Sajid says he didn't let me sleep in his hotel. I side with him on many issues. Trump is straightforward, Honcho. Honcho says loads of energy, don't pay bills. Salute David. David says no taxes on tips, a closed border, lower gas prices. I want to talk to y'all about the character. Drop a one if you say character shouldn't have anything to do with the president of the United States. Drop a two if you feel like character has a lot to do with whoever it is, the president. Drop a one if character doesn't hold no value. Drop a two if character does. Linda says Trump has compassion. When you follow him, he really cares about people. Respect, positive vibes. Marie dropped the two. And I'm with them on the character. Because like I said, I grew up in that era and time. And I still think today people are taught character. People are taught to have good character. Salute Frank. Frank says prices will continue to climb because we won't be able to afford food, rent, or period. Linda dropped it too. Salute Ron. Ron says Trump doesn't know difference between truth and lies. Huncho says, laughing out loud, no tax on tips. What is that? LOL. Not everyone is food service workers, my boy. And I'm going to say it again, y'all. The character says a lot about you, and your character means a lot. Michelle, salute Michelle. Michelle dropped the two. Seth says two. I believe it matters, but not as important as our livelihood. But it's coming. So what we're saying is the president of the United States of America doesn't have to be held accountable. Let's stay there. Because when you're talking about the character of this president shouldn't matter, then that means that there's no accountability. That means that you're saying that the president should be able to say whatever he or she wants to say out of their mouth. The president, he or she, should be able to do as they please. See, all of that falls under your character. All that lines up with your character. Frank says we need to help our people in America first and stop doing for the world just crazy kids, families on the street. I agree with you, Frank. Seth says, oh, I think Kamala going to win, sir. That's where I'm at. So now we're on the same page, Seth. And I'm just pointing out areas that Trump is going to win. And I'm just pointing out areas that Kamala is going to win. That's all. And then that way we can see, okay, Trump is going to beat in this. He's going to win in that. Kamala is going to win in this. Kamala's going to win in that. Ron says we have to know the leader is honest. Trump's not honest. And that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. You all know, I think Trump is funny. I think he's hilarious. And I do like Trump. I do. And the reason why I was going to vote for Trump over Biden is because Trump makes the better president. Now, that's with Trump and Biden. I always felt like Trump makes the better president, and I still feel that way. I still feel that Trump would be a better president than Biden. However, Biden is no longer in the race. Now I'm focusing on Kamala, and I'm looking at what she brings to the table. And I'm looking at what Trump brings to the table, their character. Now, we could talk about Kamala's character if y'all would like to. Let me read these comments. Seth says, we have to be on the same page. I'm not saying the person I want to win will win. I'm with you, Seth. Honcho says no tax on tips is BS. What about not expensive houses? Frank says, I believe if they wanted to change and do right, Michelle Obama would have run, but they don't. Michelle don't want her name ruined. Sajid says, I remember when you even shot a comic video about Trump during the pandemic. Remember, Sajid? I'm going to try to find, matter of fact, I got that Donald Trump video. I'm going to play that Donald Trump video, y'all. Salute James. Linda says she looked up innocent. She locked up innocent black men. James says California just signed a bill for undocumented immigrants for home ownership. See, that's not cool. That's not cool. The immigrants are getting more benefits than the Americans. And I got news for y'all. They're not going to have more benefits and rights than black Americans. The immigrants are going to have more benefits and rights than white people as well. I want y'all to stay focused on that. Salute Tony. Tony Stark says she brings knee pads to the table. Marie says, Shank, no one should feel is thought they should be like everyone else, equal. No one should get away with anything. Ron says, speak truth, not propaganda. Frank says, true. Sajid says, I still have that video on my phone, Shank. I'm going to play that Donald Trump got me messed up video. I did that, what was that, about 6 years ago, Sajid? Linda says she will remove kids from homes that disagree with gender-affirming care. All right, y'all, let's go back. Let's go back to the legal experts.
The Judge Chutkan is now expected to interpret and apply the Supreme Court's ruling. She'll have to decide which alleged conduct described is official in nature and which could be the subject of criminal prosecution. Along the lines of what you were just telling us, but is Jack Smith essentially sort of getting ahead of all of these potential hearings with a superseding indictment, saying, look, we already went to a grand jury in the aftermath of the SCOTUS case in which this is, brought to light, and we still have an indictment here for you?
Right, so Judge Chutkan asked Jack Smith to basically lay out what he says should happen in the case by Friday. Here, the Justice Department is saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to show you what we think should be included. Because as you rightly said, Lindsay, the Supreme Court basically handed to Judge Chutkan the indictment again with their ruling and said, interpret our ruling, attach it to these charges, and then see what comes out in the mix. So basically go through, decide which alleged conduct in the indictment is official in nature, which is unofficial in nature, and from there decide what conduct can be included at trial. Because again, remember, Judge Chutkan, she is a trial judge. What we're doing here is, what she's doing here, what prosecutors and Trump's team are doing here, is trying to get to trial or figure out how this could be resolved. And so that is what her job is. And so her job is to apply the Supreme Court precedent to these charges. The special counsel here is saying, we are going to get rid of things that we think that she would have disqualified or that the Supreme Court disqualified, and we are narrowing this. She likely still will have to do something related to the Mike Pence matter because that is still included in the indictment. The Supreme Court said that Trump is presumptively immune from anything related to Mike Pence. Here, in this indictment, notably, the special counsel cast Mike Pence not as vice president, but as Trump's running mate in the election. And so this is a purposeful change that the special counsel made in this new document. Pence is not just the vice president, but also his running mate, Trump's running mate here. And so that the special counsel is trying to make that determination as well.
Just like we had a sort of a similar trickle of what could be perceived as positive news for Trump in his case, this is a very significant week for Jack Smith and their responses as they litigate this in the courts. We had you on yesterday. Remind us what the development was there in the Florida classified documents case.
Right, so as viewers will remember last month, Judge Eileen Cannon dismissed the classified documents case, ruling that Trump was right when she said the special counsel was illegally appointed and was not lawfully put in his position. She basically found that because Jack Smith was not appointed by the president, approved by the Senate, he didn't have the right to then go forward with the case, an argument that Trump and his allies had made. Smith yesterday appealed that ruling officially to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, arguing that he called that ruling nonsensical and basically said that there was a lot of legal matters that she got wrong and asked the 11th Circuit to reverse her and allow that case to continue.
I want to bring Jessica Levinson back. Of course, Jessica, we've been talking about the role of Judge Chutkan and what will be before her, which is quite a lot, a great deal of work left in this case to still sort out.
Well, and I think that you and Rob were exactly right to focus on this as a response to the immunity ruling. And you and I were talking a little bit about that other ruling as well. But this is really an indictment that takes into account what the Supreme Court said in terms of creating 3 buckets of categories. And this is where we see Jack Smith say no. And you mentioned those paragraphs with respect to co-conspirator number 4. That's where we see a few of those paragraphs being pushed out, where Jack Smith thought under the Supreme Court's immunity ruling, those couldn't move forward. And so now that Jack Smith has filed this superseding indictment, which Judge Chutkan, as you and Rob were just talking about, she's going to have to say, which bucket do each of these allegations fall within? Because to remind everybody, what the court said is, when it comes to only those things that under the Constitution a former president can do, the core presidential functions, absolute immunity. And again, that's why we see some of the allegations just be dropped here, where Jack Smith said we can't go forward. Then when it comes to official conduct, a presumption of immunity, that's where Judge Chutkan is going to do a lot of work to try and figure out, are these allegations official conduct? And then with respect to the unofficial conduct, no immunity. Trying to figure out what falls within bucket number 2 or bucket number 3, as you just discussed, that's where Judge Chutkan is going to have to go through and be the first judge in the nation to apply that new standard that we see from the Supreme Court with respect to presidential immunity.
This may be pared down, Jessica, but still quite a significant indictment.
A very significant indictment. I know that, I and others say things like, look, you never want to be on the receiving end of a criminal indictment, and particularly one like this, a federal indictment. But I want to emphasize what you and I talked about before. All 4 charges are still there. Most of the factual allegations are still there. Jack Smith is saying what he said before, which is, anything short of a Supreme Court decision that said, you just can't try a former president, you just can't criminally indict a former president, Jack Smith said, I have enough to move forward. And these are serious allegations here. And Jack Smith is saying very clearly, I can go forward, not on something that's significantly pared down, but on something that looks a lot like what I brought prior to that immunity decision by the Supreme Court.
Jessica Levinson, always appreciate you. Rob Laguerre, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I would just echo what Jessica had to say, and I also say that there's still a long way ahead in this case. There are some pretrial motions that have already been decided back in December when a lot of these issues were first raised. But now, as we've been alluding to, Judge Chutkan has a lot of work ahead of her, because this indictment still has been filed and there's still 36 pages to go through. And so Trump's defense is likely going to go through and raise issues with each of these. The arguments that they had raised about presidential immunity in her courtroom months ago, they're going to raise again and apply the Supreme Court decision here. And so Jack Smith is not out of the woods here. There's still these arguments that have to go forward, and those close calls that the Supreme Court said Judge Chutkan will have to make, she's still going to have to do that. And so this is not the end of the road, but likely the beginning of new legal processes.
Not the end of the road, but the beginning of a new one. Rob Laguerre, thank you so much.
So, allegedly, it's not the end of it. Allegedly, there's going to be more legal woes. I like what Linda asks. Linda says, why didn't he arrest Hillary, Biden, and Obama? Do you think that they're picking on Trump? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Hillary ran into illegal problems. Salute Tammy. Honcho says a convicted candidate running for election should tell you what you need to know. That's true. Salute Tammy. Ron says someone's a prosecutor and someone is the defendant. So are they picking on Donald Trump? Or is it he got caught with his pants down and they didn't? You know, which one is it? Or is it that Hillary and the rest of them are actually innocent and there is nothing that they done wrong and it's just Trump? I mean, he's convicted of the 34 felonies. So what's really going on? What's really going on? Ron says 34 felonies. I mean, he was convicted of 34 felonies. He was convicted of 34 felonies. See, where I'm at now, I'm on the character. I'm on the character because policies, I think both sides have some good policies. I disagree with some from both sides. I think both sides have good policies. Misdemeanors, you mean? Bud from Kansas says misdemeanors, you mean? I mean, it was proven that they were felonies. Not unless I'm wrong. I thought he was convicted of 34 felonies. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Bud from Kansas says misdemeanors. Huncho says a regular person who has 34 felonies won't get a job. That's facts. That's facts. Tammy says, but wasn't the 34 convictions overturned? Ron says he never should have been able to run. Was the felony convictions? I don't believe that those 34 felony convictions were overturned, Tammy, but I don't know. Was the 34 felonies overturned? Linda says he is innocent. So you're Linda, so you're saying he's innocent on the indictment or he was innocent on the 34 felony charges? Somebody help me understand. Somebody help me understand. Because the last that I checked, he was found guilty on those 34 felonies. Now the question is, will he go to prison? Will he go to prison? What are y'all thoughts? Ron says all were felonies. Salute, Brian. I see you, Brian. Huncho says if he's innocent, then I'm innocent too. I should get the job by one. I feel you, Brian. I feel you. I mean, that's Huncho. I feel you, Huncho. Brian says he is guilty on 34 felonies. Tammy says, but was still able to run. Correct. American says nope. Joseph Kuhn says explain exactly what he did. Exactly what he did. Payments to his lawyer were logged as legal expenses for 34 checks. It sounds like you don't even know what happened. Linda says sorry, but a jury of Trump haters. Tony says there was no underlying crime in order to convict under that charge. He would need a underlying crime, which there was none to begin with. So therefore, the being found guilty was bogus. All right, let's backtrack, y'all. Let's backtrack. Let's backtrack. Let's backtrack. Linda says they created the crime. Ron says, would they put you in prison? You bet they will. So the felony, the 34 felonies was bogus. I understand, Linda. I understand. It's hard to type. So are you saying that the 34 felonies, that was bogus? Okay, Linda's saying yes. Drop a 1 if y'all feel that the 34 felony charges was bogus. Drop a 1. Ron says jury says guilty. Tammy says, but no one else with a felony can get a job. but he can make it make sense. That's facts. They hard on you when you got a felony on your record. When you got an F on your report card, the F is for felony. Just ask anybody with an F on their report card. A felony, it's hard. It's hard to get a job. Carlos says, let's make America great again for the next 4 years. Let's vote Trump. Ron says they real. David dropped the 1. Marie says Shank. Trump should have been removed while this case is ongoing. James and Tony's dropped the 1. Ron, Trump is guilty. Yeah, man. Yeah, and this breaking news of him being indicted, I mean, it's not looking good, y'all. It's not looking good. And I know we got a lot of Trump supporters that's watching, but now is the time when we really got to look at it and call a spade and see for what it is. Because in the presidential debate, trust me, Kamala, it's like, which way do Trump go in that presidential debate? Because they're going to be asking these kind of questions. See, it's a debate. So they're going to be asking these kind of questions. How do y'all think Trump will hold when these comments come his way, when these questions come his way? You know, you've been convicted of 34 felonies. While you was in the White House, while you was in office, you didn't show your taxes. And it's just a whole list of things that is not going in Trump's favor. It's a lot. I'm just naming a couple of them. But in this presidential debate, they're going to be asking these hard questions. How will Trump answer these hard questions? These are some hard questions. I'm just being honest. It's some hard questions. And if you've ever been on a stand, if you've ever had to, if you've ever been questioned under oath, well, of course, the presidential election, they won't be under oath. But even just being questioned, you know, you gonna be, you know, and especially when they coming at you like this. And especially for a guy like Trump, you have to remember, he put himself in this predicament where his character, that's what I'm talking about, the character. See, it was told to me a long time ago, your character is who you are. And your character, even when you change, I've changed. And I know plenty of people change. I know all of y'all have changed. But we all know what? Even though we changed, our character from 10 years ago, our character from 20 years ago, our character from 30 years ago, somehow still haunts us. Look, I'm 52 years old. People still judge me for when I was 19 years old. People still judge me off of things that they heard about me. These things that they heard about me ain't true. Some of them might be true, but these are things that I may have done when I was 11 years old, 12 years old. I still get people judging me to this day at 52 years old. I still get people judging me to this day for things that I did when I was 13 years old. Somebody brought that up to me. Yeah, because I remember when you was 13 and, well, how old you was? I said, you right, because I already know what he was going to say. I remember when you was 13, you did this. I said, but do you realize that was 40 years ago? I've changed. So even though I've changed, guess what? A part of my character still haunts me. So we have to look at his character. We have to. And like I said, I've changed. Now, some things, you know, you can understand. But we got to remember now, I was 13 years old. So what I did do that I was still being judged on, that's when I was very, very young. Now, fast forward to where I'm at now, I'm very careful how I move. Why? Because my character says a lot. So Trump, he should be no different than me. He should be no different from you. He should be no different from him or her. We have to focus and we have to look at the character. Now, of course, if you don't care too much about your character, that's on you. And yeah, people still going to judge you. Yeah, people going to still look at you. Now, do I worry about what people think? Hell no. But at the same time, I'm not going to conduct myself as no fool. I'm not going to be moving around here like no complete idiot just because I don't care what people think about me. Because I still have to represent. I still have to represent what? I still have to represent a man. I'm a grandfather. I can't let my grandkids see me acting a fool. Trump, if he's the president of the United States of America. He should be no different from me. He should be no different from any of us when it comes to our character. And I believe that those that feel the character doesn't matter, then you're missing a part, and you're missing a major part of why people have a problem with Trump. Most people that don't support Trump, believe it or not, most of the people that don't support Trump, it's because of his character. I'm being honest with you. I'm being honest with you. I asked the question on a previous demonstration. How did we go from loving Trump? How did we go from liking Trump? I was speaking to the black audience. I said, how did black people go from loving Trump and liking Trump and everything about Trump? How did we go from that to not liking Trump? And it's simple. His character changed. His character completely changed. That's why most people have a problem with Trump. I'm just being honest with you. Most people agree that Trump was a decent president. Most people will say right now, I would vote for Trump if he wasn't an asshole. If I'm lying, if y'all feel the way I feel, drop a 6. Drop a 6. If you feel if Trump wasn't an asshole, you will vote for him. Drop a 6. Drop a 6. Drop a 6. Linda, you know I like Trump. Linda, you know I like Trump, but he's an asshole. Allegedly. I gotta be honest. Come on, y'all. Remember, this is the platform. This is the platform where everybody's opinion is welcome. And this is the platform where we call a spade a spade. Come on, y'all. Come on. If you can't see that Trump is an asshole, now he's a funny asshole. He's a hilarious asshole. He keeps me laughing. But come on, y'all. He's an asshole. He's an asshole. And see, now it's like we're drifting and we're getting away from what the platform is all about. And that's just calling a spade a spade. Tina says, exactly, Shank. He got caught with his foot in his mouth because he thought he was untouchable. And that's facts. Carlos says, man, I'm voting Donald J. Trump. Then I'll vote Donald J. Trump for the next 10 years if I could. His character is unique, different, but what matters in office is his ability to do what he did once. Aren't most CEOs a-holes? You got a point, America. You got a point, American Don. You got a point. I'm not bashing and I'm not saying just completely throw them away. The chat moving, y'all. I'm trying to keep up with y'all comments, but the chat. Ron says, what do you think? Shannon says, see no content, say why. B Young says, if y'all can't understand how much it takes to try and take that man down and why they want to take him down, then I don't know what to say. Yeah, he an asshole. I want asshole. And that's fine. But at least you're being honest. At least you're being honest, B Young. At least you're being honest. I like Trump. I got to tell y'all, I got called Uncle Toms. I got called sellouts. I got called all kind of names because I like Trump. I do. He didn't get caught anything, boss. It's all media, bro. Open your eyes, boss. I worked in the media for 8 years. Answer the question, come on. Joseph says, predators use nice words to draw in their prey. That is why words are not important. We need a leader, not a pick puppet. Yes, let's get DJT back in the White House. All right. Now, I asked the question, do y'all think Trump will end up in prison? Let's find out what the legal experts say. Let's find out what the legal experts say. It says new indictment drop. Trump will get 6 to 9 years in. Let's see.
And for that matter, Ty Cobb has been correct. 6 to 9. 6 to 9 years in prison is what former White House lawyer, former ally of Donald Trump, Ty Cobb, is saying. This new superseding indictment has Donald Trump at risk. He thinks this is rock solid, ironclad, unflappable, inarguable. It's going to happen. And for that matter, Ty Cobb has been correct all along the way with every prediction he's made. I don't know that I've heard of him make a claim legally in his field of expertise that has gone sour. He's right about this shit. And I want to read for you just a couple of sections, just a little bit from the intro of this superseding indictment that was released yesterday from a grand jury here in D.C. about the election interference case. You see, the Supreme Court, when they came down with their ridiculous, fascist-friendly ruling that anything Donald Trump does in an official capacity as President of the United States extricates him from any risk of criminal prosecution because he's the president, he's the king, he can do no wrong, according to 6 wildly conservative, fascist-friendly justices on the Supreme Court, 3 of which Donald Trump put there. So Jack Smith is going around that, retooling the indictment to cover those particular issues related to that Supreme Court ruling. So there are 4 counts. Count 1, conspiracy to defraud the United States. Count 2, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Count 3, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. And count 4, conspiracy against rights. I'm just going to read 2 or 3 paragraphs from this, and then we're going to move on. Introduction. 1, the defendant, Donald J. Trump, was a candidate for president of the United States in 2020. He lost the 2020 presidential election. 2, despite having lost, the defendant, who was also the incumbent president, was determined to remain in power. So, for more than 2 months following Election Day on November 3rd, 2020, the defendant spread lies that there had been outcome-determinative fraud in the election and that he had actually won. These claims were false, and the defendant knew that they were false. But the defendant used his campaign to repeatedly and widely disseminate them anyway to make his knowingly false claims appear legitimate, create an intense national atmosphere of mistrust and anger, and erode public faith in the administration of the election. 3. As a candidate and a citizen, the defendant had a right, like every American, to speak publicly about the election, and even to claim falsely that there had been outcome determinative fraud during the election and that he had won. So they're framing it as, look, absolutely Donald Trump had a right to speak. We're not disputing that. But that's not what this lawsuit is about. It's not about his right to speak and even lie about the election. It's about fraud. It's about the usurpation of constitutional rights and civil rights in this country and this case. He was also entitled to formally challenge the results of the election through lawful and appropriate means, such as by seeking recounts or audits of the popular vote in states or filing lawsuits challenging ballots and procedures. Indeed, in many cases, the defendant did pursue these methods of contesting the election results. His efforts to change the outcomes in any state through recounts, audits, or legal challenges were uniformly unsuccessful. And then they go through the case. But this is not a hatchet job. This is not a railroad. This is absolutely a metered legal document that was allowed based on citizens coming together in a grand jury room, hearing the evidence, and then voting on whether to indict. You may know, many of you are new here, you don't know, but I served on a federal grand jury in Orange County, California when I lived there a couple of years ago, 3 years ago I lived there, but about 4 years ago, I was on the grand jury that indicted Michael Avenatti for his fraud and using funds that were recovered in lawsuits of his clients for himself. I understand the grand jury process. Now, they say that you can indict a ham sandwich if you like, and that is true to a degree because of the fact that you're not required to present exculpatory evidence to a grand jury. But this case is in such the zeitgeist, a lot of this information was public. We've seen the evidence. We know what Donald Trump did. We witnessed it with our own eyes. You don't have to be in a grand jury room to understand the ins and the outs of this case and the crime that was committed in plain view, in plain public view for the rest of the United States. And now Donald Trump's grifting off of this. He sent me this email with the banner at the top, breaking news, turning this into a fundraising effort. How many times do I have to go through this? Another Jack Smith hoax. They never point to anything that Jack Smith has done that is actually wrong or a hoax or...
What are y'all thoughts so far? What are y'all thoughts so far? Moderators. If you disrespect me or my moderators will get you up out of here. Please don't disrespect me or my moderators. How do y'all feel? How do y'all feel? Do you think? Because as according to my man, he says you don't need a grand jury to see what Trump has done. What are y'all thoughts?
Fake or a witch hunt, because everything that Jack Smith is alleging, we also witnessed. The Harris-Biden regime weaponized the DOJ. It's just the same, playing the same hits. I've beaten all the hoaxes before and I'll do it again. Here we go again. They indicted me, they impeached me, blah, blah, blah. So here is a portion, not the full thing, but a portion of the interview between Aaron Burnett and Ty Cobb, that lawyer I talked about, who says Donald Trump is looking at he's not going to be in prison forever, but it's likely, thankfully, he's going to die in prison for his crimes against the country. And not even for his most serious crimes that I believe are related to his ignoring and mishandling willfully of COVID, where more than 1.25 million Americans died of a disease that could have been handled more responsibly. That in and of itself should lead you to believe that this guy should die in prison. Here's Aaron Burnett and Ty Cobb talking about it.
Wow. 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 I say character, where is Trump wife? She's bugging out. Bud from Kansas says, this dude is a propaganda peddler. Will says, spewing facts. Cookie Monster says, idiot. Linda says, just observe how he talks. That's called manipulating the viewers. B. Young says, for real. Jason says, this guy is in a low-budget studio with a green screen. I wouldn't believe this clown. Please open your eyes to all these thirsty channels trying to act like they got facts. It's embarrassing. James says, how many asshole bosses we had but still got the bag. So, some of y'all still say, regardless of Trump character, regardless of Trump being an a-hole, y'all still want him for president. Do y'all still feel that way over Kamala? Does it make a difference now? Linda says, I know 100% he is a propagandist. Does it make a difference? Like for me, you know, Trump against Biden, for me, was a no-brainer. I'm going with Trump. Now, Trump against Kamala, for me, it's okay. They both got good ideas. They both got good policies. So I want to see this presidential debate. Do any of y'all feel the same way? Or do y'all still feel Biden or Kamala, it doesn't make a difference? You're still going to vote for Trump? B. Young says, I ain't even worried about it. People are fed up for good reason. Marie says, no. Jason says, maybe they could work together or something. Now, that would be something that would be dangerous. Could y'all imagine? Could you imagine Kamala as the president and Trump as the vice president? Or could you imagine one or the other, whoever wins, can you imagine the loser somehow on the same team as something? Could y'all imagine that? David says, name one of Kamala's policies, just one. What are y'all thoughts? Kamala and Trump together? Positive Vibes says that wouldn't work. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the 3 dots and hit the like button. Get my likes up, y'all. Help push this demonstration out into the YouTube algorithm. Hit the like button. Positive Vibes says Trump and Kamala on the same team? Nah, that wouldn't work. What are y'all thoughts? What are y'all thoughts? What are y'all thoughts? James says, it took me years to get a house, yet these people come to America and get money, cars, and houses. Linda says, that's like communism versus the Constitution. Which one is better? I feel both of y'all, Linda and James. David says, you didn't name one because she has none. I mean, come on. David, to say that Kamala don't have no policies, come on, man. You know she got policies. You know she got policies. Jason says, it would blow minds. Yeah. And I'll be somewhere laughing like, they played us. But come on, y'all, let's be honest. That's all politics is. That's all it is. It's politics. Shannon says, you cannot say why he is in any of this. Oh, Kamala is trash. She slept her way to the top. Look that up before you defend her on that. Tony says, because no one wanted her. Marie says, facts. That would be dangerous, both of them on it. Linda says, she wants to tax people 80%. David says, name one. Agent 207 says, Trump. Tina says, it won't surprise me if he doesn't make any jail time. It looks like he going to jail. I mean, it looks like, now if he don't go to jail, what is that to say? For all those that feel like he should go to jail, if he don't go to jail, what is that to say? You don't get no jail time. You don't get no prison time. And you got 34, you've been convicted of 34 felonies. I see one. I can understand two. 3 felonies and you don't go to jail? But 34? 34 felonies and you don't go to jail? Somebody talk to me. Shannon says no good ones. Shannon says, see, name one. Matthew says cities. Now he's under indictment. Now he's been indicted. Bud from Kansas says they will put him in jail, hoping they can't get some fanatics to pop off. Now, do you think that that will be their last chance, or do you think that that will be their big joker if all else fails, to lock them up, give them some time? Do y'all think if all else fail, I mean, somebody that tried to take his life, Shannon says that means there is hope for my country. Y'all do realize that somebody tried to take Donald Trump's life? Name just one of Kamala's policies, just one. Some people still feel like the assassination attempt was bogus. How many of y'all feel that way? Drop a 4 if you think the assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life was bogus. Drop a 4. Drop a 5 if you think it was real. Salute Caramel. Salute Caramel for the win. I see you. Appreciate you for pulling up, Caramel. Drop a 4 if you think the assassination attempt on Trump was bogus. Drop a 5 if you think it was real. Shannon says, dude, that don't matter if it is all BS. Salute Martha. Martha says, no one is above the law. If they let him do it, then they will have to let the others do it. I agree, Martha. Carlos dropped the 5. David dropped the 5. Shadow dropped the 5. Martha dropped the 4. Because a lot of people still say, I still get emails, Shank, you got to cover, you got to talk about Donald Trump fake getting shot and this and that and woo, 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 woo. And I'll be like, I already covered that. What makes y'all think that the assassination attempt on Trump's life was bogus? Caramel says, I love how they gave the kids food stamps during the pandemic. It helped. Linda says it wasn't bogus. People died. They did. But some people are asking, Linda, what happened to the funeral of the firefighter? And put up some prayer hands, if y'all will, for the firefighter that lost his life. Some people are saying, Shank, what happened to the funeral? Shadow Band says people who think it's bogus are sick. I still feel like it was real. I still feel like it was real. People think it's both. If those felonies were real, he would already be in prison. Baby says Trump was at the funeral for the firefighter. The family invited him. Linda says he was a private citizen. Martha says he refused to let them see his medical report. That's true. Jason says if they did arrest him, I'm sure he'd be out quick. Then all of a sudden, something surprising will come out of it. Maybe even an arrest and someone we didn't expect. Salty says fake as you know what. Would anyone go to that extreme of faking an assassination on their own life? Like, now, I do know that somebody definitely was behind it. The way how it played out. You had the shooter that was playing with the drone on the top of the building for 11 minutes. For 11 minutes. The building was surrounded by law enforcement. There were witnesses, that was supporters out there that was waving to the Secret Service and other law enforcement pointing at my man that did the shooting. They knew about this even before even before Trump came out, but they still allowed Trump to come out. So I definitely know somebody was behind it, but to say Trump was behind it, that's where I'm at. Salute 10 mil. Salute 10 mil. Appreciate you for pulling up. Martha says 5 Secret Service men already turned on him. Those 5 are on administrative leave. Linda says the assassin has foreign bank accounts. Shannon says Biden did it. Trump 2004. Tyson, salute Tyson. Tyson said it was a full hit. Tyson says blessing Shank. Shadow says also please don't harass the people who think it's fake. They have a mental sickness. Because I'm just salute Shano. I see you, Shano. Salute Shano. Make sure you pull up later on at 9 o'clock, Shano. We will be starting a new sector. We will be starting a new sector. So all content creators, if you are a content creator, and if you would like to participate in help building a new sector, the sector is called Switching Lanes. Pull up at 9 p.m. There are a lot of wonderful content creators that are out there that's looking for a home, that's looking for a sector that they could call their home. So if you are interested in joining this new sector on YouTube called Switching Lanes, pull back up this evening at 9 p.m. Let's get back to some legal experts, y'all. Let me take y'all back to some legal experts. Time on my side says as a vet. Okay, Shane, appreciate that. YX says, I hope you are out in your community speaking the truth, not just online. Follow me on TikTok. You can see my work on TikTok. I started on TikTok. Time on my side says, as a vet, a person who knows guns, well, you don't gain an assassination that comes that close with a kid who didn't even make high school shooting team. That's true. Shannon says Secret Service leader is BFF with Jill Biden. Tim Mills says, how is it going over there? Any clear indications yet? Beeman says, exactly. Linda says, they are not legal experts. Jason says, as much everyone wants to believe, know what's going on, I think we're all going to be blown away at how this all ends. All right. Bateman says, Mr. Shank, who you want to win? I could go with either one of them, to be honest with you. I just want whichever one of them win. I just want them to get in there and do a good job. So it could go either way for me, Kamala or Trump. I'm just waiting for the presidential election, and that'll tell me everything I need to know, Bateman.
Cobb now, former Trump White House lawyer. Ty, you've had a chance to read through these 36 pages, obviously slimmed down just a little bit, not much. 9 pages fewer than the original indictment filed last year, keeping those 4 key charges and editing, emphasizing that it is in a personal, private capacity under which Smith has the authority to make this indictment. Did he do it? Does this indictment make a clean-cut case that the acts were personal?
I think it does. I think, some of the editing that you highlighted in your intro is spot on, emphasizing the private nature of many of these acts, the private funding of the speech at the before the Capitol intrusion, Pence's ceremonial role, the non-governmental roles of the co-conspirators, which they can now say categorically, and now that Jeffrey Clark is out, because he was the only government official who was actually in the original indictment. He's no longer in this indictment. So all the co-conspirators were acting in their private capacity. I think this threads the needle. If I'm Trump's lawyers, and I'm surprised, I'm scratching my head at that, because this was the reasonable approach to take. No reason to go through a series of hearings before Judge Chutkan and force the task of editing the indictment on her when you can
Right.
put forward a forceful case like this.
And do the work for her. All right, so then what happens? She gets this case, as Evan was laying out, next week. What happens then? And I guess then does it eventually just go back to the Supreme Court? Is this fast or slow from here?
So it'll be slow from here, not merely because of the superseding indictment. Whatever the indictment was going to look like after it went through whatever hearings Judge Chucking is going to have, and she still will have a hearing on the adequacy of this indictment. It does have, there is a interlocutory appeal available, at least as I read the Supreme Court decision. And that doesn't mean the Supreme Court has to take it if the DC Circuit acts before and they're content with whatever they do. But this is definitely, this hasn't been on course to go before the election for months.
Right.
That was never going to happen. But as you point out, this is a very forceful document. It's pared down. Every sentence is, crisply worded. It's a tight narrative. You can't read this and not understand the crimes that Trump actually committed. And as you pointed out, 55 years is exposure. He's not going to get 55 years, but he'll get 6 to 9 on this.
Can I ask you about that? So you think he could get 6 to 9, and obviously I put out 55 just to, so people understand the seriousness of this charges. But even 6 to 9, for someone his age, it's very significant.
So there's that 6 to 9 years again. Salute Denethia, salute Douglas. I see y'all, Douglas, Denethia, salute. So they're talking Trump possible could get 6 to 9 years. What are y'all thoughts?
That's a guy who understands the law. That's a guy who's worked for Donald Trump in the White House, knows the stakes, knows the mechanisms by which this will happen, and he is saying, the guy who's been right all along, that he's looking at 6 to 9 years in prison, that this is an unflappable version of this indictment. For me, I would say it should buoy your spirit. If you're somebody who looks at the world through a reality lens and not a MAGA lens, not a QAnon lens.
Now, what are y'all thoughts? That was a guy that worked for Trump. What are y'all thoughts? Let's see what the chat is saying. 6 to 9 years. And of course, at his age, at Trump's age, I don't think he could do 6 to 9 years. David says wishful thinking by the propagandists. Baven says 0 chance he's getting any time. He committed no crime. Denethia says Trump ain't even concerned. X says still no crime. Douglas, I think 0 for Trump, life for Joe. Baven says he doesn't work for Trump anymore and is butthurt about it. Not much else to say about him. Why is Trump in the predicament that he's in? Talk to me. Salty says new family business will be the prison laundry. Linda says, Shank, I am a psychologist. This is emotional manipulation. Talk to me, Linda. Why would you call it emotional manipulation, Linda? Why would you call it that? And why is so much surrounding Trump? Is it that? Let's say he's innocent. And I know Trump supporters will say he is innocent. Let's say he's innocent. Why are they going through so much to keep him out of the White House? Benedict Donald is issuing whole chickens. Bud from Kansas says, no wonder Mr. Shank could go either way. He believes this dribble that comes out of the box. Boy, I can't win. X says, why do you think? Linda says, because people don't think rationally when they are emotional. Douglas says, all about Dem's pocketbook. They're doing all of this. What is Trump doing or why are they so scared of Donald Trump? Salty says convicted felon on 34 counts. Why are they so scared of Donald Trump? Any answers? Can anyone give me some answers? Why are they trying so hard to keep Donald Trump out of the White House? What did he do his 4 years in the White House that has them so afraid to allow him to get back in the White House? Douglas says he is the man. Bud from Kansas says he's a patriot, not a politician. Douglas says they know it. Baven says because he's not an establishment politician, he can't be controlled by money and donors. Linda says this is a world problem, not just America. I will agree. I will agree with y'all. He's not a politician. He's not. They can't control him. I've always said that. I've always said that. Their biggest problem with Trump is that they can't control him. Shannon says, this does not matter, man. It's bigger. We had to save this country, fools. He is innocent. They want to destroy this country. Bud from Kansas says, orange man, rat. Well, I mean, Shannon, I think the country has already been falling way before Trump got in office. Baven says, that's why I like Trump, because he doesn't bow down to the elites. I'll give him that. I'll give him that. He doesn't bow down. He doesn't bow down. He say what he want. He say what he mean, and he means what he say. Linda says, just rematch his inauguration speech from 2007. Just rewatch. Kimmer says he's a criminal. I mean, they all criminals. That's if you ask me. You know what I mean? All of them is criminals. You know what I mean? Some get caught, some don't. So that's if you ask me. Right, Douglas? They all criminal. All they ass is criminals. Baby. Douglas said, LOL. Baby said, yes, sir. Baby says every politician is a criminal. I mean, we being honest. We being honest. They all criminal. They all crooked. Shit. Ain't none of them saints. And we could try to dress it up all we want to, but we won't be trying to fool nobody but ourselves if you think they ain't crooks, if you think they ain't criminals. You know what I'm saying. Linda said, LOL. But Christian said, if you say that you know he's not controllable, then you understand. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. My issue with Trump is just the character. Outside of his character, I'm with him. I like the guy. But for me, his character, me knowing how important one's character is, me always knowing the character. And I know for most of y'all, some of y'all, that don't make a difference when it comes to Trump. But for me, like I said, he makes me laugh. He's very hilarious. But there's only so much of that I'm willing to, just see. Convicted criminal. Douglas says criminal for our people. I'm voting Trump. Shannon says under Obama, yeah. Salty says felon in chief isn't happening. Salute Zena. I see you, Zena. James says same bird, different wing. I was always told that. It's all the same bird. Douglas said, oh, Nan's awesome. Now we on the same page, Douglas, right? See, up until then, we wasn't on the same page, Douglas. But now we on the same page, right? Shannon says 16 years, only 4 years was Republican. That is why we have been doing bad. But he was changing that. Bateman says, that's fair. I wish he was more professional. There are a lot of examples of him showing character. Right. The media just doesn't cover it. I saw a video just yesterday where he talked to a girl whose parent, the media says Trump's running mate is just as reckless. Raven says parents died. Douglas says we all the same. Oh, now we all the same. They even says, and told her they were proud of her. And that's my thing. He got character. He got character. But I understand why he is in the character when he became the president. I get it. I understand. Eugene, salute Eugene. What's more important though? His character or allowing open borders, fentanyl killing our youth, illegals pouring across with our tax dollars supporting them, higher gas, food prices. Douglas says people love him. Kimmer says Kamala all the way. Drop a 7. Drop a 7 in the chat if you're voting for Kamala. Where are all the Kamala Harris supporters at? Drop a 7. I want to know. The Trump supporters is deep in here. Let me see some Kamala Harris supporters. Drop a 7 if you are a Kamala Harris supporter. Because the Trump supporters are in here deep. Douglas says cartel still here. Salty says Vance is going to be delivering sofas for Renter Center by the end of November. Baven says respect, sir, but I'm glad you are able to see both sides of things. And that's where I'm at, Baven and everybody else. I see both sides. I see both sides. Look at how many times Walsh has been to China. Look at Wall State. Linda says it's not reality for the media to show him as negative as he is. That's propaganda. If the media was fair, people would say he has good character. I see some 7s down there, so I see a lot of. So we do have some Kamala voters in here. I see the troublemaker, beautiful nightmare, and she don't know that I'm going to roast her ass today. Now, for all the Kamala Harris supporters, tell the Trump supporters why y'all are supporting Kamala. Beautiful nightmare, I'm going to roast you when I tell you I'm going to roast you. Beautiful says the troublemaker is in the building. Hey, shiny top. Kamala supporters, tell the Trump supporters why y'all are voting for Kamala. Don't go nowhere, beautiful, with your drunk ass. Your ass got so drunk. Have y'all ever known somebody to get so drunk that they missed their own birthday celebration? Kimmer says she's not a convicted felon. Salty says we aren't going back. Why are we voting? Why are y'all voting for Kamala? Beautiful nightmare got so drunk. And she young. That's the thing about it. She young. It ain't like beautiful nightmare old. Well, you know when you get old, when you get up in age, you gonna fall asleep on your birthday celebrations and you'll fall asleep doing sex and all other kind of stuff when you old. But when you're young, you ain't got no business falling asleep on your birthday. While the border open, personality of a foot Harris will be whatever the money wants her to be. Are we being too cruel? Are we coming down too hard on Kamala? Maybe we're coming down too hard on Kamala. After all, they came down hard on Trump. So maybe we're coming down too hard on Kamala. Beautiful says, listen, I made it to the main party. I just slept all day for the next celebration. Stop lying. Stop lying. Yo ass, stop lying. So why is it not good for the people to come down on Trump, but it's good for the people to come down on Kamala? What's the difference? Now, Kamala, Paul says, you're not coming down on Trump hard enough. Now, Kamala, how many of y'all consider Kamala a politician? How many of y'all consider Kamala a politician? James says, laugh in my ass. Look at New York, third world country. Yeah. Point, James. Douglas says, Dems stop the wall. Remember that whole mess. We are still living here. Beautiful says, I did. I thought I told you a time, but clearly it was in my dream. Right. Show you right. Nope. Douglas says nope. I'm gonna find something for y'all. I'm not gonna hold y'all that much longer, but I'm gonna bear with me while I find something for y'all. Now this gonna blow y'all mind. For Trump supporters and Kamala Harris supporters, this gonna blow y'all mind. Paul says we are all politicians. Give me a minute to find this, y'all. Now after I show y'all this, I'm gonna watch the chat. I'm gonna pay close attention to the chat. I'm gonna pay close attention to the chat.
Republicans are now afraid that they're also going to lose the House. Now, the House of Representatives, as we all know, is the only body that Republicans control nationally. It's not just the White House that Republicans are in danger of possibly losing this year. According to new reports, and based on the fears of sitting Republican lawmakers, Republicans are now afraid that they're also going to lose the House. Now, the House of Representatives, as we all know, is the only body that Republicans control nationally, other than, of course, the Supreme Court. But in terms of elected bodies, all they've got is the House, and they already have a very razor-thin margin in that House that over the last year and a half has actually even gotten smaller for them. So things are looking bad for Republicans in the House just based on what was already happening even before every poll shifted in the Democrats' favor. So Republicans are starting to panic, but Democrats obviously having the exact opposite reaction. Democratic Representative, Dan Kildee of Michigan said this. He said that they've seen a huge uptick with volunteers and small dollar donors. No question about it. It elevates a lot of our races. It may broaden the map. Look, we've still got to finish it. But just looking at volunteers and small dollar donors, these are two variables that matter. We know they are.
I was robbed.
Damn commercials. Drop a 1 if y'all agree. The Republicans are scared to lose the House. And it looks like the Republicans might lose the House.
And yes, other reports have confirmed that volunteers for Democratic campaigns, including House campaigns across the country, have skyrocketed in recent weeks. People are energized now that Harris is at the top of the ticket. They
Appreciate that super chat. Appreciate that super chat, Paul. I'm sending you some love for being a good host. I appreciate that, Paul. I try to be a good host. Paul. Appreciate that super chat.
want to be involved, whereas when Biden was the nominee, you may not want to hear it, but it's the truth, people stopped caring. They were not energetic. They were not enthusiastic about it, but that has shifted. Polls have shown that the enthusiasm has shifted dramatically in favor of the Democratic Party right now. It's not just Kildee. Outgoing Representative Ann Kuster said this: the path we were on was unsustainable. To be earnest, I thought we were going to lose 20 plus seats and lose the Senate and lose the White House. But I'm seeing polling all over the country every day And we're flipping 5+ points in all these districts, she said. So she admits it too, like, yeah, a month and a half ago, we were going to lose everything. We were definitely not going to regain control of the House. We were going to lose control of the Senate, and we were going to lose control of the White House. Right now, it's not necessarily looking that way. Now, I don't want to give people any kind of false sense of optimism or make you think that everything is hunky-dory and you've got nothing to worry about. This is a fight, and it will continue to be a fight until the polls close on Election Day. We could still lose everything. We could lose the House, the Senate, and the White House this year. That is a possibility. There's a good chance that it happens too. Not a great chance, thank God, but a good chance nevertheless. We know for a fact we're already losing one Senate seat. Joe Manchin ain't going to win this year. And as much as he's not even really a Democrat, he still won't be there. Republicans are going to have that seat. It will go to somebody worse, if you can imagine that. But we could pick up somewhere else. You know, we know that Carrie Lake is probably not going to win her election, so we keep that seat. But we have to focus in other areas as well. The Senate is going to be the tougher fight. The presidency right now, Harris is enjoying this massive surge that is still going on, which of course is why I say that I don't buy into the whole Harris honeymoon BS. If it was a honeymoon, it would have leveled off by now, but it's not. The House, on the other hand, that's kind of been the forgotten branch, right? We've done lots of talks about the Senate. Obviously, the presidential race is at the forefront of everything. But that House, where Republicans right now only have a razor-thin margin of a handful of votes, literally, that could be in play. Lauren Boebert, even though she's in a deeply Republican district and she easily won her primary, they still don't like her. Could that be a seat that we could flip? Maybe. Probably not, though, unfortunately. But in all these other swing districts out there, those are the districts where this race is going to be determined, both at the presidential level and, of course, at the House level. Because what's going to happen is Harris is going to drive out, if things continue on pace, just to be clear. But she is going to drive out these people who do not want to see a Donald Trump presidency. And more often than not, the people who do not want to see a Donald Trump presidency probably also do not want to see Republicans in control of the House. They're disillusioned with Republicans. They have watched them since they retook the House in January of 2023. They've done nothing for the American public. They've passed the fewest number of bills in the history of any Congress. They want change. And when you want change, you go with the other party. So those are people in these swing districts that will vote for Harris, and then they'll go down the ballot to the House race and probably vote for the Democrat as well. Not all of them, but that is the most likely scenario in these races. And that means if that seat is currently held by a Republican, they are suddenly in danger, whereas they were not in danger just a month and a half ago. Polls are showing, I mean, as Kuster points out, +5. Democrats are winning in red districts in special elections all over the country and have been for a year and a half now. Things have shifted so dramatically away from the Republican Party. And that's why all of these people say, like, oh, it's still a tight race. Still a tight race. Sure, it's a tight race. But it's kind of not when you look at what's been happening for the last year and a half. Everything's coming up Democrat. As I've pointed out many times, and I'll use it again because it's such a great example of it, Democrats won a deep red district in a special election in the state of Alabama running on a pro-choice platform. Things are shifting in this country in a way that does not benefit Republicans at all, and they are terrified.
What are your thoughts? Are things shifting in a way that doesn't benefit the Republicans? What are your thoughts? I'll ask again. Are things shifting in a way in this country that are not benefiting the Republicans? And the Republicans are mad. Talk to me.
Here's what Will Reinert, the spokesman for the National Republican Congressional Committee, said. Because we are well prepared, we are well positioned to grow our majority. But It's going to be a knife fight until the very end. Okay, seems like, he doesn't seem panicked, but they are panicked. I promise you, they are panicking. Reports tell us that they are worried about this. They know what they're up against. They know that the momentum has shifted, the enthusiasm has shifted, everything has shifted. And you add that, what's happened in the last month, to what's happened to Republicans over the last year and a half, and it's a recipe for disaster for them. So again, I don't want to make people overly optimistic. I definitely do not want to give you false hope. But things are looking pretty good right now. And anytime Republicans panic, you can bet it's because good things are happening with the Democrats. According to world-renowned...
Is that true? Let me backtrack it. Is that true?
Again, I don't want to make people overly optimistic. I definitely do not want to give you false hope. But things are looking pretty good right now. And anytime Republicans panic, you can bet it's because good things are happening with the Democrats.
Is that true? Anytime you see the Republicans panic, it's because good things are happening to the Democrats. Shannon says, does it matter to these idiots? We have open borders and we are paying for it. Linda says, my son says that he is seeing more pro-Trump than he has ever seen in his life. He said for years people were anti-Trump, but now it has flipped. Steven says, no, it's not true. Bud from Kansas says, strength through joy. So what did we get out of this, y'all? What did we get out of this demonstration? What will we take from this demonstration? As I stated before, I'm not going to hold y'all that much longer. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. I appreciate all my new subscribers. Appreciate my moderators. James says cost of living, inflation, people getting laid off, shifting for the worse. Shannon says it does not benefit America. What does that matter? Bigger things are going on here. Harris, let these people in. Why? Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Harris necessarily didn't let him in. It started with Biden. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. It started with Biden. Biden allowed them in. Correct me if I'm wrong. James says good things are happening for the people coming across the borders. That was because of Biden. Biden first started letting them in. Remember, Trump, negative. That was something that I was pumping my fist for with Trump. Trump wasn't having it. Steven says Kamala in charge of the borders. So it wasn't on Biden? Because I could be wrong, and that's why I'm asking y'all. Biden isn't in charge of the borders. It's the actual vice president that's in charge of the borders. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Steven says Kamala had one job, is the border. Linda says, according to Border Police, Harris was in charge. Okay, so then Harris allowed the immigrants to come in. Now, what is that to say with her? If she gets elected as the president, she'll have 4 years in office. What is that to say? Now, this is for the Kamala supporters. What is that to say? And if you are a Kamala supporter, do you agree or disagree with Kamala allowing the illegal immigrants to come in past the border? Linda says she wants to give them voting rights. What are y'all thoughts for all of the Kamala supporters? What are y'all thoughts? Is this something that y'all disagree with, Kamala, or do y'all agree? Robert says when a Kennedy backs a Republican, it's the Democrats, not the Republicans, panicking. Good point. Good point. But let's talk about Kamala and the borders. Salute, Nina. Good evening, good afternoon, Nina. Appreciate you for pulling up, Queen. Appreciate you for pulling up, Queen, Nina. Shannon says she was put in charge. Linda says, good point, Robert. Robert says, when the Kennedy backs a Republican, it's the Democrats, not the Republicans, panicking. And that's true. Kennedy is backing Donald Trump. Nina says, absolutely. So, what are you all going to do if Kamala becomes the president? How will she treat the legal immigrants? And should we even be concerned about the illegal immigrants? Are Americans making a big deal about the illegal immigrants when that should be our least worries? Talk to me. Somebody talk to me. Shannon says they are both on the ticket together. What the hell do you mean? She said ICE was KKK. Are we making a big of a deal about the illegal immigrants? I mean, if the illegal immigrants are willing to come to this country and take on jobs that white Americans won't do and black Americans won't do, is it the illegal immigrants' fault? Somebody talk to me. I'm just asking. I'm just asking. I'm trying to see where everybody's head is at. I'm trying to see where everybody's thought pattern is at. So I'm just asking, are we beefing? Are we picking a wrong beef with the wrong people? Legal immigrants know that they could come here. Bud from Kansas says they're illegal. Martha says no. No. Bud from Kansas says no. Should we be focusing on other issues? Should we be trying to help the illegal immigrants? Now, these are many different questions. These are a lot of different questions. Because at the end of the day, unless you are from the natives, unless you are a native, we all are immigrants. Alexander says they could sleep at your house. I don't want them at my house. But can we learn something from the illegal immigrants? James says 1,200 people got laid off from Tyson Foods and hired the migrants for cheaper pay. Are the illegal immigrants, are they the new slaves of America? Answer my questions, y'all. Talk to me. Talk to me. Linda says you're not immigrants, you're American. Are the illegal immigrants, are the immigrants the new slaves of America? Martha says yes. We know in order for this country to be built, they had to have slaves. I'm aware that there were not only black slaves, there wasn't just African slaves, there were Irish. I'm aware of all that. There were European slaves as well. I'm not tapping into that. I'm just asking a question, okay? So I don't want us to drift off and start telling me all these other different nationalities were slaves. That's not what I'm speaking about. I'm only speaking about, are the illegal immigrants the new slaves? Salute, Precious. I see you, Precious. I see y'all. Bud from Kansas says, we need no slaves, been through that. Shannon says, terrorists. Are you kidding me? We don't know who they are. We're settlers, not immigrants. No, Martha Brown says yes. Tyson Foods is the freaking problem, not the immigrants. Alexander says they don't pay taxes. Linda says yes, now slaves, child trafficking. And also, the American dollar, salute Suntan, I see you Suntan. The American dollar, we know when it gets sent back to these third world countries, the American dollar doubles, and in some of these countries, it triples. So it's no wonder they'll come and work a minimum wage job. Shannon says, they're not at my damn house, uninvited. Christina says, not now. It's always been. Once again, I appreciate everybody for pulling up. I appreciate everybody for subscribing to the channel. There are different ways to support the channel. The easiest way to support the channel is just subscribe to the channel and also hit the like button. That's the easiest way. The Nithya says, if they are slaves, they are by their own doings. Another way you could support the channel is you could purchase a membership to the channel. If you go down my catalog, you'll see that I have a lot of demonstrations that are for members only. That's some of the benefits of purchasing a membership. You'll have access to members only demonstration. Or if you would like for me to read your comment, sometimes I can't read all comments, like Precious Jones. Appreciate the super chat, Precious Jones. That's another way that you could support the channel. You could purchase a super chat or a super sticker. If you purchase a super chat, I answer all super chats. So if you have a specific comment or specific question that you would like to get to me, simply purchase a super chat and I will acknowledge it. I read all super chats and super stickers. Appreciate the super chat, Precious Jones. Appreciate the super chat. So I'm hoping that we all was able to learn something out of this demonstration. The demonstration was breaking news. Donald Trump has been indicted once again. What was he indicted on? He was indicted on the same charges from 2020. Now, these charges were filed. The first indictment, the original indictment actually came last year. I believe August or September of last year. And I believe it was 38 pages or 36 pages, but the pages has been reduced down to 9, but it's still 4 charges that's in the indictment. So they indicted him last year, but now they re-indicted him on these charges. He could face anywhere from 6 to 9 years, maybe 55 years. Precious Jones says, for sure, always learn from each demo. Thanks for all you do, Rock Squad. Appreciate you, Precious Jones. It's all just for show and try to make him look bad. Also, for everyone that has been following the Shanquella Robinson case, I am back to doing Justice for Shanquella Robinson's on Friday at 9 p.m. and on Sundays at 5 p.m. So if you are looking for my Shanquella Robinson demonstrations, pull back up on Friday nights at 9 p.m. and pull back up on Sundays at 5 p.m. Remember, it's Justice for Shanquella Robinson. Also, if you are a content creator, make sure you all pull up tonight at 9 p.m. because we are starting a new sector called Switching Lanes. So I'm inviting and I'm calling out all content creators to help build this new sector. If you are a content creator and you are looking for a home base, if you don't know where or all these different sectors out there and you would like to belong to your own sector, then pull up with me tonight at 9 p.m. and help me and other content creators build the sector, and it's called Switching Lanes. Once again, I appreciate everybody for pulling up. Your vote is your vote. If you choose to vote for Trump, if you choose to vote for Kamala, your vote is your vote. Never let nobody discourage you from voting for whoever it is that you would like to vote for. Remember, y'all, remember, we have to respect everybody's opinion. We have to respect everybody's perspective. For the Trump supporters, we have to respect the Kamala supporters. For the Kamala supporters, we have to respect the Trump supporters. Because remember, same branch, not same branch. Remember, same bird, different branches. Salute everybody. Linda says, God bless Shank. Vote Trump 24 for the sake of the country. We can't respect lies, though. I appreciate that. Precious Jones says, let's go. See, God leads me. I was thinking about her case today. It crossed my mind. So I pull up and look at God. Wow. Won't God do it? Won't God do it, Precious Jones? Look at God. Salute everybody. And I'll see everybody back tomorrow for another demonstration. Salute everybody. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Salute.